Hey, Electric Vibe fam. It's your guy, Harlan Hucky Austin. Just wanted to give you guys some updates. As you have probably noticed, for the last couple episodes, I haven't been able to be present. Got a lot going on, a lot of projects that I'm working on, um, and specifically during the evening. And so the most of the shooting that we do is during the evening. So I just wanted to let you know that my guys, Kirk and Jay, have been doing a really, really good job of holding it down. And I look forward to being back with the guys real soon. In the meantime, I've been working really hard behind the scenes, doing video editing, doing thumbnails, all the fun stuff, right? All the fun stuff that makes our podcast successful. The guys are going to talk a little bit more about, me not being there, but I just wanted to let you know that we're looking forward to all being together in 2026. And so until then, we wish you peace and love, and keep watching the podcast.
Man, the had to done do it again. I done came in here with the twins.
Ladies and
I
gentlemen,
done came in here with 217.
welcome back or welcome for the first time to the Electric Vibe podcast. I am Kurt Hoffman, one of three co-hosts. Today I'm Spooky Hofftastic. And my man, my brother, my purple road dog, because we've traveled, every time we actually see each other in person, we're always traveling many miles to get there, aren't we, Jay? Is none other than the Electric Man. He's J. David Silva, but today he's the Electric Man.
Yes. Hello,
So,
Kurt. How are
Jay,
you?
here we are. We've got how many days till the new year? 9, 10 days. I'm not mathing the maths because you've been with your children. Jay went to see the New York Giants play yesterday. I was bemoaning my Baltimore Ravens allegedly losing to the Patriots. There's no fixing.
Allegedly.
There's no such thing as gambling influencing football. Not at all. None whatsoever. Don't believe the hype.
But during all this, we had to come on and do our last episode of 2025.
Yep.
Kind of a reflection, a look back, and a look at what's coming in 2026.
Oh,
So,
yes.
so
And
I'm just
we have to mention Hucky's not here today. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me address that if I can. We'll get right into it. Hucky has changed job schedules, and he is only available when we do podcast recording on mornings and early afternoons, shall we say. And I just spoke to him this morning about that. And, all three of us, you, Jay, myself, Hucky, we all have regular day jobs, or in his case, night job. But we have regular jobs where it requires us to be away certain hours of the day. And, to pay because listen, the bills don't pay by themselves, do they? Especially when you're buying Christmas presents and all this other stuff for your children, in your case, my spouse, and etc., parents, what have you. And Hucky just wanted to say, hey, he's still part of the Electric Vibe team. He will be on episodes. We're working our schedules out where all three of us can be together when we can to interview our special guests. But we're basically going to not reformat, but we're basically going to do episodes where we are not always going to have a special guest on.
right.
And it's going to be the three of us, and we're going to have a topic to talk about. And if we can get guests in that at those times that we're on, great. If we can't, we're definitely going to have special guests on. One of the things you'll probably notice, and Hucky and I spoke of this at length, is we're going to have a feature when we do have a guest on, when he's not available, called Hucky's Corner. And let's not forget, folks, Jay and I know you, it's not lost on us that we're talking to a guy who spent a significant amount of time with the Purple One as his main protector. It's not lost on either Jay nor myself that Hucky is an invaluable part of this thing.
Right.
When he
Right.
decided to come on board and join forces with us. and he still wants to be a part of it in any way, shape, or form that he can. When you see our thumbnails, our graphics, our summaries, and Jay, of course, has been putting in a lot. I just want to give a shout out to both you gentlemen because Jay has put in a lot of time working on editing our videos and sound mixing on certain things. And we've been working with different podcast recording software iterations. And we finally settled on one. It's easy for all three of us. And it's a division of labor of love, I like to say,
Right.
because we really want to give you guys quality content, but we're not always going to have a special guest to do that. We always have a special guest when Hucky's a part of it. And Jay, you certainly have stories about Prince, and you certainly have. I have. We all have stories that we can share on here, but that it's not always going to have a special guest. Is what I'm trying to say.
Right. And you know what, Kurt, I think that that's also, for lack of a better term, the beauty of content creation.
Yep.
Because I think I've always said that, the fun is what we're doing now in front of the camera,
Yeah.
right?
Oh.
But the work that goes into that the average person doesn't see, nor should they, as I've said before,
Yep.
is all of the prep and the
Yep.
the the questions and the research and then the editing
Oh
and
yeah.
the everything else that goes into making an episode what it is the actual work part of it.
Yeah.
So with things like schedules, and sometimes we have to switch recordings based on our guest schedules,
Right.
or our schedule. So part of the beauty of content creation is being able to pivot and being able
Yeah.
to be flexible. And I think that we do, a pretty good job of that. But
Yep.
the other piece of it is that being able to do that, and having said that, is that we're still able to bring quality content, and that's
Mm-hmm.
really what our passion
Yes.
is. That's our purpose. So whether it's with a special guest or doing what we're doing right now, it's still our responsibility
Yeah.
to bring engaging content to the
Yeah.
people that we're fortunate enough to have watch our recordings. That's basically pretty much it. The other shout out that I just want to give before we start talking about
Please.
the past year is all of the support and the friendships that we've built through people who have
Oh.
either been on the podcast or assist us not on the podcast. There's been a couple of people that have helped us um, behind the scenes,
Yeah.
whether it's our friend Kirsten with our
Yep.
logo,
Yes.
which we're very, very
Kirsten
grateful to
Porter.
her
Shout
for.
out to you, my dear.
Absolutely. Miss you, honey. There's also, some of the shorts and things that we've done. I have a great friend, Erin, who's taken some of our recent shorts and created those for us and
Yeah.
allowed us to publish them. So she's taking very good care of us there.
Thank you.
We sure appreciate that.
Yep.
And then there's the support of our families, our spouses, our friends who maybe aren't in front of the camera, but put up with our schedules and our recording and the
Our
time it takes us away
shenanigans.
from our families and our shenanigans, right? And then friends of the show, Haley
Yep.
Drinkle, you know, she Tanya Giddens, some of the people who have supported us, Joe Kelly, a lot of the people that
Oh.
have given us advice, have given us support, have shown us love on their podcasts. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention all the things that they've done for us in the past year.
Yeah. I mean, it's and I want to give a shout out to the folks that we met at Celebration as well. We've bonded a lot of friendships and formed a lot of partnerships, and out of that, folks like Martin Kember,
Yes.
who we got to see live out during Celebration when he performed at the Green Room. And let it be said, folks, we know the 10th anniversary of Prince's passing is coming, and I just want to say that Jay and myself and Hucky, Hucky lives outside of Minneapolis in a suburb, and Jay and I will be there for Celebration next year, 2026, and next year's coming up pretty quick here,
It's coming
folks.
quick.
And before
Right.
you know it, June's going to be right around the corner. Before you know it, we as we get older, or as my former ENT used to say, as we get less young.
Yes.
I love that.
But Kurt, think about what rejuvenates us and some of the people you just mentioned. I mean, we've got, let me just rattle off a few. Okay, we got Victoria and Chaz Smith. Francine Amato, St. Paul Peterson, Monty Moyer.
Mm,
So a lot of the people that we've either had, Michael Koppelman and Tom Garneau, who we try
yep.
to visit whenever we're out in Minnesota, Chris
Yes.
Johnson and his family, his sister Paula, his
Oh
mother
my God.
Linda,
Purple Knights podcast,
his
y'all. Shout out to Chris.
salt of the earth, people that have taken care of us when we do visit. DJ Michael Holtz and his lovely wife Rose.
Oh,
The people that have shown us love and have,
yeah.
for lack of a better term, taken us in when we come out and visit. They help support what we do as well. So I think that, not mentioning those people and not giving them the credit for what we do, we'd be remiss if we didn't do that either. So it's truly a
Yeah.
collaboration.
They're family at this point, Jay.
Absolutely.
And hold on. Let me give a shout out to you because I got you roped into all this foolishness and shenanigans and stuff. I say that jokingly. But when I reached out to you, now we're family.
Absolutely.
We've and finally, unfortunately, when Jelly Bean passed, um, we made great efforts to come out and see the boys in Morris Day and the Times Band when Kurt Biscara, aka Kirky B, who, and if you don't know this guy, he is a session drummer from the Mother Planet. In fact, I think next year we're going to try to get him on
Hmm.
as a guest
Absolutely.
because he's an incredible session drummer, has recorded for a whole host of guests. We met out in Atlantic City when Morris Day and the Time were one of two opening acts for the Commodores in Atlantic City, and the other act, Jay and I just happened to be on Joe Kelly's podcast in remembrance of Jelly Bean before we did our own version of that here at the Vibe,
Mhm.
and we got to be on the panel with Swang Stewart, who is part of the Family Stone,
Right.
and that's the remaining members. The one original member is Jerry Martini, who plays saxophone,
Hmm.
and the daughter whose name is escaping me at the moment, of Sly and
But
Cynthia.
mhm.
And Swang could not have been nicer. We got
He was
to
just
see him
he,
after the show, after their opening segment with the time and stuff. It's just this fellowship element that the podcast has given us, and this extended family of folks who all share a common thread has entered into our lives nor shall ever leave us.
right, right. And
And
it's not I'm sorry, Kurt, but it's not
no,
about, it's not about the money or the profit or things like that. It's really, really, really about
we're
the
not making money
relationship.
off this yet, Jay.
Right,
I mean,
exactly, right. So
let's be real.
it's really not about the profit. But it's about the relationships. And let me
Yeah.
just throw out our love and gratitude in particular to your husband Aaron, my wife Robin,
Yes.
and Hucky's wife Toya, because
Yes.
without them and their support, this literally would not be what it is. I can give you a case in point. It was Robin who approached me after Jelly Bean passed and said, "We need to be out at the show."
Yeah.
Ironically, you had sent a text and you said, "Jay, we have to be there." And I said, Robin said the same thing, and we made it happen.
So let me add to that. You'd sent me the text about it. It is weird. And it was just at the same time I had just pulled into the parking lot at work. I left a little early, knowing that I was going to try to buy tickets to see the show at the Hard Rock in Atlantic City. And you sent me a text. I'm like, dude, stop getting in my head. And when I said, hey, Jay, I'm going to buy tickets to see the thing, and she said, Robin already bought them. I went, dude, seriously? All right, well, guess we're going to see each other there at the thing. Where are your seats? Where are my seats?
Yep, yep.
And
And that was the first time we had met in person, each other's spouses.
yes, correct. You got to meet Aaron in person for the first time. I got to meet Robin, and it was lovely. I mean, we were all running on fumes.
Right. The day after Thanksgiving,
The day
right?
after
I mean,
Thanksgiving. Are you kidding me?
a 4 hour
You eat that
ride for
much
Robin and
turkey.
I. It was an hour and a half, right, for you and Aaron, almost 4 hours for Robin and I.
Yeah, you had the longer trek to
Mhm.
get there, but the point is that we go to great lengths to support this genre of music. And we're not just supporting the Minneapolis Sound, folks, and we're not just a Prince podcast. Let me just be clear. When I spoke with Hucky, and Jay, you and I have certainly talked about this. We've had other guests on besides those that are related to the Purple Kingdom and the community. And that's our mission, to expand that universe, because really, at the end of the day, we're here to support the arts and sciences and things that keep community alive.
Right. Right.
It's not just about the arts, because the arts are the cultural arts is a binding agent for humanity. And it's not just the performing arts that we have to pay attention to, because in the world that we're currently living in right now, and we're not going to get into politics and all that at this time. And I don't think we really need to, because that's always the elephant in the room, given where we are at this
The
time and
climate now.
place,
Absolutely. Right.
in the climate that we're in, whatever your beliefs are, is that we want to make sure that we foster some kind of sense of civility and kindness and positivity to one another. And that's really our mission at the end of the day.
And
Is
if we
that,
can do that through the arts and through humanities and sciences, then we're
yeah,
all the better for it,
yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
particularly when we're up against a lot of the negativity and divisiveness that exists in this culture, which
yeah.
actually seems to become the norm in this culture now.
Like putting comments in an episode such as this and making it all about negativity. Well, no, actually, that's not correct. He or she wouldn't have wanted this, or blah 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 blah. That's not that's not where we're coming from.
But I think we've always embraced though, and we still do, and
Yeah,
probably always will. You
yeah,
know, everybody has a voice here. We're
mm-hmm,
gonna embrace dissenting opinions. Whether it's in the arts, sciences, humanities, whatever.
yeah,
Because everyone, this is a safe space, and as
yeah,
long as it's respectful and it's thoughtful and it's
right,
constructive, then we will entertain it. Now, unfortunately, we have had some people that have decided to take the low road in comments on some of our episodes, and some people
yeah,
have taken personal shots, not necessarily at us, but at some of our opinions or maybe some of our guests. And there's really no time for that. This is just about, can't we all just get along, right?
yeah. I mean, yeah. For lack, it's just, you know, it makes it, when you're, and Hucky likes to use the words keyboard warrior.
Hmm.
It's much easier to hide behind a keyboard and make negative comments and to hide behind that blanket of anonymity and make negative comments. And there's plenty of people. Let me tell you, there are plenty of people. And thank you to let's give another shout out while we're at it, Jay, and let's give thanks to our faithful subscribers who have been with us every step of the way and given us positive feedback and whatever. Thank you to all of you. And you know who you are, because we see your comments. And
And
we really appreciate any positive feedback or constructive feedback,
constructively, right? I
And
mean,
I
we have
had one,
listeners.
and I'm blanking out at who it was. Hey, are you guys going to talk to are you going to do anything about D'Angelo? And I
Mhm.
actually reached out to this person on Facebook Messenger, and I said, yes, as a matter of fact, we're going to have Alan Leeds on. And, he managed D'Angelo. He certainly knows who D'Angelo is about. And boy, I tell you, and unfortunately, you weren't part of that episode, but like we said, there's a division of labor here. When we can get a special guest like Alan on, we all try to be there and show up for it if we can. But if we know, hey, look, I got other personal commitments or I've got other work obligations, we're not always going to all three of us be there, but we're always working together in some capacity.
Right, right.
This is a team. And if it's best for the team that this person look, guys, Jay, you're like, look, you two go ahead. I'll do what I can to help out with any way I can for the episode. It's a team effort. But sometimes we all three can't just be there. It's a reality of life. Everybody's working to help pay the bills and do what they got to do. And I'm sure that
And,
many of you listeners out there and those who are watching this are in that same boat. this is a refuge for you too. This is a very niche, specific thing when we talk about the Prince community and the Purple community. And then beyond that, we've had other guests on, Jay, you and I, before Hucky came on, and since. And it's, we do what we can to provide quality content. And no, we're not, we this year we haven't been able to pump it out every single week. But we'll post comments about this day in history and what have you. And Jay does a lot of that, by the way. I just want you to know. And I try to chime in there where I can, and Hucky certainly provides us all these stories and stuff. If you have not read any of Hucky's posts, particularly recently on Facebook, he's just an incredible writer and thoughtful individual. I mean, as are you, Jay, but it's just we're trying to build something here that fosters a sense of belonging.
Right. Belonging.
Because the world right now, if we're going to get deep about this, let's get deep about this. Aside from COVID being one of the biggest pandemics that has hit this world, the biggest pandemic that's going on right now is two things. This is my opinion, of course, is loneliness and mental health crisis. That is a global pandemic that's occurring right now. There's so many people I know that either suffer from bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, manic depression, just out and out loneliness because older individuals in particular. And that's a huge crisis. And those are topics that we want to cover here on the Electric Vibe because we want to make that vibe electric. We want to take that negative whatever or that loneliness and transfer it somehow. If we can uplift somebody else's life, that's the mission.
That's the mission.
That's
absolutely.
The mission right there. You and I have talked about this off the air, Jay. And there's no shame in saying when we had Marquise Bowie on, let's give a big shout out to Marquise and the Minnesota Agape movement.
Mm-hmm.
And he is taking on the Lord's work, in my opinion. And that is their mantra, their mission statement is turning street energy into community energy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's a hard road sometimes that can be sometimes it's an easy job. When people don't understand a particular area or culture or race of people, I stumbled upon that area. How we even got in his orbit was I stumbled upon George Floyd epicenter. And he was one of the first people that greeted me while I was walking around. It was a beautiful sunny day in 2022. And I had no idea. I was coming from embracing the food culture of Minneapolis, with a Juicy Lucy at Matt's Bar and Grill, cash only, I might add. And you and I still have not done that yet. So I think when we go to Celebration this year, we definitely got to hit.
We got to fit it in.
Absolutely. But having lived in a city like Baltimore and now living in the suburbs outside of another major city in Philadelphia, I can say that when you visit a city, or when I go visit and I go travel, and I know you do the same thing, Jay, because you and your wife both do quite a bit of extensive travel. You always want to embrace some aspect or some part of the culture. And Minneapolis has definitely got its own sense of that.
Yes.
And when you don't understand why the riots happen in Minneapolis because of the death of George Floyd, when you don't understand the actual community, you just, a lot of people dismiss it. Oh, they're just a bunch of angry people. They don't know what they're doing, blah, 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 blah. When you get to know the community, when you get to know some of those figureheads, Spike Moss, for instance, when we got to meet him, right, you and I, at a dinner in 2024. Mm-hmm. Our first time actually being in the same place, in the same orbit together, mind
right.
you.
Yeah. Or when you Rondo.
Oh my God! Are you kidding me? Yeah, Chief Rondo.
Yeah. Madera Arredondo.
Madera Arredondo. It's just we got to make sure we get to see him. I hope we get to see him. And a
Well,
shout out to Chief Rondo if you're watching
absolutely.
this or listening to this.
A
That was
wonderful friend,
another incredible
friend of the podcast. Absolutely.
friend of the podcast, and and an episode that I wish had gotten more views. If I'm being honest,
Hmm.
because and his book that we were helping to trying to help promote. You know, he's doing the same thing, folks. It's fostering community, but also fostering an understanding of the community. I think more
Well,
specifically.
and you know what, Kurt, seeing as you know, I think you've done an excellent and very eloquent job of what our mission is
Yeah,
and what you and I are trying to do. Let's talk just a little bit about, not a little bit, a lot of it, about what we've tried to do through some of our episodes in 2025. And the very first thing I do want to talk about, those I want to talk about Jelly Bean. And I want to
that's
talk
right.
about, obviously, you and I both loved Gary George Jellybean Johnson. He was a friend of ours. He was a family member of
To
ours, quite
pieces.
frankly.
Yes.
He was good to both of us,
Yeah.
to both of our families. And it was hard the past
Yeah.
month. We did a lot of posts about
Still
Jelly
is.
Bean. It still is very hard. We I think tried to support as best we can. We have love and a shout out to his family, his children, his life partner Marty, all the people that were in
Let
his
me tell you,
orbit.
Marty. I'll say this again, Jane, to piggyback on what you're saying. And sorry for interrupting again. Again, folks, we try to foster civility here as well as community. Like as I'm stumbling over Jay's words, but when I first entertained the idea of doing a podcast, my first two guests, before I even was the Purple Kurt podcast, I tried Cultural Chat with Purple Kurt. What a dorky name. But anyway, um, Michael Holtz was actually my official first guest, my dipping my toe into the water of podcasting right after my 50th birthday during 2020. And then when I decided to really push forward with it, the first guest I was able to get on was Jellybean. And I knew he was just releasing in 2021. He was releasing an album, a solo album. I'm like, what? Jellybean's putting a solo? He plays guitar? What? I mean, I knew he played on Black Cat, but I didn't know he was like, I was
That
like, that level of playing. I mean, I knew he could play, but you don't know what you don't know. And and we've talked about this on tributes and what have you on Joe Kelly's podcast on a Musicians Reveal. Shout out again to Joe on Musicians Reveal. What an incredible guy Joe is. And there's a guy who I actually want to meet in person at some point. Joe, we got to make that happen in 2026. All of our respective spouses. That's going to be a dinner party worthwhile.
that's a dinner
I'll tell you
party.
that right now. So, Jelly Bean, I had to moderate the scheduling of the episode through Marty Bragg, his partner in crime, and his unfortunately now widow. And she has been through quite a bit of trauma herself, having lost her son Regal the Rare, his stepson, Jellybean's stepson Regal, who was also a recording artist in his own right in today's music, in that world. Um, so she had lost in the last 3 years her son and her husband. And I want to say that she was very generous, and boy, I tell you what, she keeps it just as real as Jellybean does. If you talk to her or talk to her in private, man, let me tell you, she doesn't pull any punches either. Which I can see why they had a great bond.
Bond. Yep.
And all I want to say to that is that Jellybean was generous with everyone that came in his path. And I know when we had Michael Bland on for our dedication to Bean, he mentioned that. He says, my interactions with, I'm paraphrasing Michael Bland. Shout out to Michael Bland and Christopher, Mr. Christopher from Funkatopia. But Michael Bland, world-class drummer. His simple statement is, my interaction with Jellybean was not unique because he was generous with everybody.
Everybody. Right.
And that was Beans. That was him. He, everybody was welcome. You always saw him when he wasn't playing with the time. If he was in the local Minneapolis, greater Minneapolis, St. Paul area, you saw him at any number of venues. Matt's Bar and Grill, where you and I saw him sit in with the Butanes. Uh,
Shaw's.
what did I say? Matt's Bar. Jesus, that's the
Shaw's.
place where I had the juicy. For all I know, he probably brought his guitar in there and
There too, right?
serenaded people while they were making the Juicy Lucy's. But
But but
hey,
but 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 the Dakota,
yeah, the Dakota,
bunkers, bunkers.
Minnesota Music Cafe, where I
Mm,
got to see him do a mind melting version of it goes. It bears repeating of Maggot Brain by Funkadelic, which was one of his. I understood was one of his trademark signature things when he would sit in with bands. Hey guys, can I play a little bit of Maggot Brain? Are you kidding me? I
But
mean, the
even
guy was a
in
hell of a drummer. You and I
but
got to see him in Fort Wayne, Indiana,
in
on their first and only masterclass with him. I think they're going to continue. It looks like they're going to try to
JMTF.
continue it. But
But even in that tragedy of Bean's passing,
yeah,
it was a microcosm of who he was and
mm,
also what we try to promote. It's again that sense of community, the way people came together
yes,
during Bean's passing,
that
the
part.
the the, the accolades, the genuine heartfelt emotions
Yep,
about what an individual he was, just a genuine individual. That really embodies everything that we've tried
yeah,
to do, not taking credit for who Jelly Bean was. That's not what I'm saying.
no,
What I'm saying is it's another example of what we try to do with this podcast. And he was wonderful with us. I am always very, very grateful for the way he treated my Robin. He loved Robin.
oh
Robin
yeah,
loved him. They had a fantastic relationship. There would be times when I would just sit back and watch them talking back and forth, because he was just, and I've had dinners with Jelly Bean. I've
yeah,
had
you did.
drinks and Krispy Kreme donuts with Jelly Bean till
Yes, you
4 in the
did.
morning. Again, a story that bears repeating.
I've had
Um,
Perkins with him and
you,
his solo career manager Jeff Luna, and shout out
Jeff
to
Luna,
Jeff
to
Luna,
Jeff, right? So
Real Music Radio.
it's that kind
Yep,
of example, okay,
yep,
that he gave and that
yep,
we also try to foster. And let me not forget our brother Law, Lawrence Worrell. That is our
yep,
man. He's been a great friend to the podcast as
yes, sir.
well. He helped us celebrate Jelly Bean's life and then did a solo episode with us as
Hmm.
well. We had him, we were with him on Joe Kelly's podcast. And so
Yep.
it's it's that type of orbit and that type of space that we've tried to create and hopefully we'll keep creating through the episodes that we do, through the stories that we can share, and through the relationships that we have.
And that's the key, the relationships. The rest of it can go kick, as Cat Glover, the late great Cat Glover would say, can kick rocks.
Kick rocks, right?
I love that. I can just
Well, I mean, just think about that, and I'm gonna say, I have a wonderful relationship, as I know you do too, Kurt, with Haley Drinkle,
oh come
and
on, Haley's our sister from the UK, man. Come on,
Haley and I try, once a month or once every 6 weeks, we have a
you do.
video chat, and
Yep,
it's 2 hours, 2.5 hours of us laughing and sharing stories and catching up. She's done a few episodes with us, quite
super. She's a
frankly,
super
and
lady.
she's just genuine. She's
Love her.
wonderful, very unassuming.
Yep,
After everything that she's been through, her years of friendship with Prince and
yep,
the work that she did and still does,
yep,
her graphic designing and things like that, but just salt of the earth. Again, a relationship that was formed through the podcast, through the
yep,
initial contact through the
yeah,
podcast when we were playing and having Cat Glover on our show just prior to her untimely passing,
yeah,
unfortunately. But
yeah.
we've kept that relationship open. Let's give a shout out to Damon Dixon, okay?
Oh my
Who
God, come on.
who
I
is
mean, there's so many people. Here's the thing. We've got an embarrassment of riches from these people. It doesn't get any more down home and real and genuine
right,
than Damon Dixon. And actually, I say for most, I got to give Prince credit for one thing of the many things as being the amazing artist that he is. But if we're talking about maybe he wasn't always good at interpersonal relationships, according to certain people that we've talked to, but he was good at having quality people around him who were genuine.
Genuine.
He
Right.
didn't suffer fools gladly, and he didn't like people who bullshitted him.
Right.
He was not a person. You could not exist in Prince's orbit successfully for long if you were just nothing more than a yes person. It did not last long for you.
Right.
You were not going to be there that long if you just yes Prince, no Prince. How can I Prince? You could not be a bootlicker.
And these are people now that we're interacting with on a
Yeah,
very professional and quite frankly personal
personal
level.
level. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look at the individuals that we've had the pleasure of being in their orbit: Monty Moyer and Morris Hayes, Dr. Fink, St. Paul Peterson. The list goes on and on. Elisa Fiorillo, shout out to Elisa,
Oh God,
who's just salt of the earth
Saint.
for us.
Let me tell you, can we just shout out the whole St. Paul and the Minneapolis Funk All Stars crew? Boy, that would be great if we got all of them on the same episode.
Yeah.
But hey, a boy can dream.
Right, right.
And watching them do the Timberwolves, right? The
Yep.
basketball. Watching
Right.
them do the halftime performance very recently, like the yesterday or 2 days ago, I think.
hmm
They're that's the word. The word that St. Paul uses to keep that music alive is we need to perform it with authenticity.
To city. Right,
And you talk about somebody who doesn't bullshit either.
right.
I mean, and let me tell you, if you guys haven't seen the halftime performance, which you can go onto the St. Paul Minneapolis Funk All Stars YouTube page to see it. I think he's got it on the Facebook page there too. But I mean, they did this extremely tight medley of all these different Prince songs. And then there was a dedication to Jelly Bean with one of his guitars
Mhm.
and one of his top hats,
Top hats.
which they
Yep.
did a close up at the very end. Very classy, very nice job.
Very moving.
Really amazing. But they were doing like Let's Work with I when I heard St. Paul, he had this falsetto. I'm like, wait a minute. He's got that, he still has that falsetto like that I should say, at his age. I was blown away. I didn't realize he was singing some of those high falsetto parts like that. I'm like, damn boy, he's older than I am, and he's still got that. And he's playing the bass, that iconic bass line that Andre Simone laid down.
Well, and let's think about having seen the family live
Oh my
at
God, are you
at
kidding
Paisley
me?
Park.
I
Okay,
finally got the bucket list item.
right.
Not just seeing the family and Susanna Melvoin, perform, which was incredible, but getting to see Jelly Bean play with them, getting to see Oliver Lieber, who is, the son of Lieber and Stoller, the songwriting team that wrote for songs for Elvis. Let's not forget Oliver Lieber, and with Paul helping him out, helped Paula Abdul become a household name for her Forever Your Girl album.
And
Straight Up Night Tell Me and all that.
we've had some of those individuals with Jerome, obviously, right? We've had some of those
Jerome.
individuals on the show. You've interviewed Eric Leeds before.
Oh,
Uh,
I was going to say, thank you for helping me fill in the blank. Eric Leeds to see Eric perform live in any capacity has been a bucket list item for me for years. Decades, if I'm being honest. And getting to see him get to play the saxophone and be himself and see him on a guest panel when they were talking about the family stuff. Jay,
right,
what? I can't wait to go back to Celebration. Now I'm getting all hyped up for next year.
right. And so we formed
Yeah.
those relationships, had those people as guests on our show,
Yep.
and we'll hopefully have more of them on in the coming year.
Hopefully.
But that's the whole point of why and what we do, right? I mean,
Yep.
it's that sense of community. Do we fanboy a lot? Let's just be honest. Yes, we do. I mean, we
I'd
are
be a
in
liar if I said I didn't half the
right.
time, dude. Well, more
I
than
mean,
half the time. Come on.
I mean, think about it. Having some of the people on that we grew up listening to their recordings decades ago, who are
Yeah.
still out there doing it, who are still
Yeah.
genuine and true to themselves. I mean, it's a testament to what they do, the love of what they do.
Yeah.
And it's, as we've talked about, it being our responsibility to help foster and support their
Yeah.
individual and independent efforts. It's just that important.
And Jay, you'll have to excuse me. I have to plug in my laptop because it has not been plugged in the whole time.
Yes,
Hey,
yes,
we're gonna
please
leave
do
this
that.
in.
That's
We're gonna
right.
leave this in.
We're not
Whoops, and
editing
my
this out.
share's shrinking. I'm shrinking. I'm melting. I'm melting. Hold on.
We always say the show must
This
go on.
candid this candid camera moment is brought to you by. There we go. Okay. Now I'm plugged. Oh, sorry. Now I'm plugged in. Sorry, folks. But here's the thing. Hey, bloopers and all. Yeah, you have to have some human moments
Exactly. Just
doing
to
this
keep it
thing.
real.
Yep.
There's also been, a couple of guests that we've had that have really, really been important to us. Let's talk about our first guest of 2025, which was Ellis Barraclough. When
Yes,
Ellis came on, a talented and fine young man who hopefully we're going to be seeing again in the future.
I hope
Um,
so.
it was definitely our pleasure to have him on to talk about his budding career.
Yep.
It's again, it's that, having Martin Kember on, okay, who we got to see at the green room when we were out in
Oh, and
Minnesota.
we're gonna
You
see
know,
him there again.
again, right? Those individuals that are out there honing their craft, performing because they love to perform, and we have the opportunity to help them promote and support their endeavors. It's a big deal for us.
I just, folks, and I'm gonna put a shameless plug here for Martin Kember. This guy can, and his daughter just had a birthday, Milkali. And I did. But here's the things: we know these little personal details now because we've been allowed into their orbit in a way because we do. If we do nothing on this podcast right, the two things I think we do the best are we show sincerity and respect, and we do. Of course, we do our homework, which adds to that. But sincerity and respect for these folks that you don't get into some of these people's orbit without those two principles, and I think that speaks on many guests that we have. If you show that you have taken the care and the time to learn something about them that isn't just Prince related or what have you, the world's your oyster, and that's a
Right. Right.
passport. Those basic tenets of kindness, politeness, respect. These are cultural passports that seem to be a fading art in,
Well,
in our
and, and
society, and we're
and
we're here to fight against that.
you and I have always said that we're not going to ask the same 500 questions that
We
other
try
people
not
ask.
to, yeah.
I want to dig deep. I want to go back into people's associations, not just say with Prince, but I want to talk about one of the stories we talked about was when we first interviewed Michael Bland was his audition with Guns N' Roses,
Oh my God.
and one of the things that Michael said was you guys really did your homework.
Yeah,
Our first guest, Ricky Free Smith, love you, Ricky.
yeah.
Shout out to Free.
Oh,
You know,
Freeze is man.
but he,
Let
he
me
was
tell
he
you.
was he was amazed that when we interviewed him, we wanted to talk about Billy Preston. We wanted to talk about him growing up in church. We wanted to talk about the Silvers, and Dynasty and other acts he worked with. It's not just about Morris Day and the time, you
I,
know.
I will tell you, and he'll tell you this himself. we his our interview with him it was him and his wife's favorite interview that he's done, and he shared this with us. And I don't take that lightly. It's not like, hey, look at us, look what we're doing, woo hoo 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 hoo.
Right.
I mean, it's nice. It's nice to be recognized for your work that you put in, but it's not about us. It's about getting their voice. Because I saw Morris Day in the Time, and I got to give a shout out, of course, to Tori Ruffin, Tori, who's been their touring guitarist now, and as Tori would put it, when we saw him at the JTMF Masterclass in Fort Wayne, Indiana, at Sweetwater Music, they are stewards of this music.
Mhm.
And that's a great word. And shout out to Tori for that. They are stewards of this music. He's been a steward of this music and keeping the legacy alive for over 30 years now.
Right.
And, if you don't learn anything about these individuals beyond the context of the Purple Kingdom, why bother?
Why bother?
I mean,
Right.
let's if I were Ricky Freeze, I would be humble bragging about the fact that the bass was my third instrument that I'm good at. He started out as a drummer for the Silvers, then went on to be a keyboardist for the Solar Records with Leon Silvers. I mean, if you hear this Whisper song and the beat goes on, and funny enough, Jay, I mentioned this to him when we were backstage at Atlantic City. When the time came off the stage, Morris Day and the Time, on Black Friday this year, the song that was playing was the Whispers and the beat goes on. And I laughed to myself. I said, "This cannot be deliberate, but it feels like the universe is sending a message." And I mentioned to Ricky when he came back very briefly because I think he was trying to get together with the guys because this was the first performance that they had performed without Jelly Bean, and Kurt Biscara, aka Kirky B, amazing performance with the guys. Has played with them before, but just a consummate professional. He wanted to be able to be debrief and be and personal and have a time, personal time with the guys, with the brothers. It's like locker room personal moment, you know? And I said to him, it didn't go unnoticed that And the Beat Goes On was playing after you guys left the stage. And he goes, it was? Because, he's focused in the moment. I said, yeah. I said, it's like the universe is sending a sign. He just gave a look and like a little nod and a smile, like, oh, cool, man. He plays the keyboards on that song, folks. So he's a triple threat, you know, and not to mention the fact that he can arrange. And one of his songs, Camp Low, right? The Adventures in the Land of Music
Of music,
from
right?
his Dynasty days. That's
Mhm.
one that was sampled by many hip hop artists, but Camp Low made a song out of it. And many people may not know that about Freeze. Like, oh, he's just the bassist and more stay in the time. They're more than that. That's the point of this show is to uncover what these people are really about. And
Right.
and they're
Right.
human and he's a dog lover.
Yep.
He just recently lost his one dog. He's got Paisley still with him, but Coco, his
Mhm.
one dog Coco passed this year. He's an extremely passionate animal lover.
Well,
And
and the other thing is, a lot of these things, Kurt, you and I found out by having dinners or having breakfast, just
getting to
having those
break bread with
those
these guys. Are you kidding me? Come
those
on.
casual, intimate conversations.
Yeah.
I mean, we had dinner with, Monty Moyer and Jelly Bean and Tori and Freeze and Plaid and a bunch of the other guys, the
Yeah.
Michael Hagan, shout
Oh
out to
God,
Michael
yeah.
Hagan, again, another one of our brothers. It's, we learn about them and we hear the stories when we're just kicking it with them. We,
Yeah.
we had we had breakfast with Freeze the next morning.
They feel comfortable enough, and there's stories that we will not share
Right.
on the
Discretion is the
in
better part
public.
of valor. Right.
Uh, uh, Hello, and because there's a sense of trust that you build,
Hmm.
and we never want to break that trust because that's to me that's sacred.
Yep.
If there's a story that they're telling because they feel comfortable enough, because they'll know it'll get around. If we mention it to someone, it will get to them in some way, shape, or form. May not happen today or tomorrow or a week from now. It could happen years from now. And they'll know exactly where that story got leaked from.
But with the respect and the love and the
Respect.
hospitality that these gentlemen and ladies have shown us
Yes.
all these years,
Yeah.
for me, the past 2 decades,
Yeah.
it's important to us, and it's the trust in things that we just wouldn't violate anyway, because these people are family to us.
Yep. And they need to be treated as such. And
Right.
and treated with but at the same time, if you know, we didn't get to see all the guys in the band from the last time we performed. They probably needed their privacy and and Ricky took it upon himself to make sure that we, got to meet briefly with him and stuff like that. But
Yep.
that's where we got to hang with Law for a little bit. I've never
Right.
met Law in person. I got to see him perform in 2022, again, a jelly bean related event. Nothing compares to P, which was the start of his whole Minneapolis Sound Museum launch and campaign. And I had an ill-fated, I'll mention this again, an ill-fated fundraiser I attempted to put on at the VFW in Chanhassen. And I will say, the VFW in Chanhassen were great to deal with. And they have amazing food. I have to say, if you folks, if you're watching this and you're going to be at Celebration or you're going to Minneapolis on your own, if you go to Chanhassen, check out the VFW in Chanhassen. I'm going to give them a shout out because one of the main staples of their seafood, they do have seafood. Well, it's lake food. I don't know. Lake food doesn't sound right, but walleye is one of the local fishes in the land of 10,000 plus lakes. And damn, if they didn't have some of the best fried walleye I've ever had in my life, and I've had some walleye over the Minneapolis and Minnesota area, man, you know, again, embracing the culture, food, music, beverage,
People.
people, art, the people, everything. It's what makes us, makes us
Well,
community.
and you just reminded me of something when you said, when you're putting on your fundraiser. I want to just give a shout out to Eric Rogers, Paisley
Oh
Five and
gosh, yes.
Dime, particularly for the events that
Yep.
he puts on.
Oh Lord.
Eric has also been a good friend to us and to the
Yes.
podcast as well, doing a couple of episodes with us this year.
Yeah.
So and we hung out with him, and Chrissy Helton. Got to give Chrissy a shout out too,
Oh,
and of course Eric's wonderful wife Amber, who is just
Amber,
lovely to us. It's again
Lulu.
Miss Lulu, right? It's again those types of things that have
Yeah.
just bring this thing full circle.
Jay,
It's all
you and
about
I have had a very exhausting year, to say the
yeah,
least. And if we want to talk about personal stuff, which we're not going to get into all this stuff, Jay and I have had some, issue related issues of personal people that we've lost in our own personal circle this year. It's not been an easy year for any of
not at
us.
all, not at all.
And in the broader scope, losing people like in the Jelly Bean and others. I didn't know D'Angelo personally, but I wish I would have. I got to know a slice of him through the interview that Hucky and I did with Alan
Hmm.
Leeds, and having been able to speak to both Leeds brothers. What a gift! The stories, just you feel like you get to know these people, and you're like, God, I wish I had actually known D'Angelo.
Right, right,
I don't think I wanted to have been in an automobile with him, but
right.
and if you don't know what we're talking about, go watch the Alan Leeds or the short that we have about the driving habits between Prince, D'Angelo, and James
James
Brown.
Brown. Right.
Oh my God! Just, but you get to know. I would never have known of that part of James Brown and how he ran his business and what have you. And the comparisons and contrasts with those three artists who are pillars in the R&B, not just the R&B community, but Prince, of course, had a wider scope. But uh, it's just you
I
get these personal touches.
and I think that you hit on something that's very key, Kurt, and that is, I think the gratitude and the appreciation that we
Yeah.
have
Oh,
for the individuals that have shown us
absolutely.
love, that have
Yep.
taken care of us, that have
Absolutely.
embraced us, have supported us. I mean,
We have had experiences that I don't think we would have had any other way had we not gone about our business the way that we have.
I agree, totally agree.
This is
And
a
it's
business.
and you ain't too far gone to see that yet.
No, neither one of us
Uh,
are.
how about us checking off a bucket list, getting to meet the great Margie Cox
Oh, hmm.
out when we saw Dr. Mambo's combo
I,
last June.
I think it's common knowledge now that Margie has a form of dementia, and I don't want to speak on her behalf regarding that, but it is known that she has been battling dementia, and that she still recognized, people and stuff like that. And I want to give a shout out to Amita Colburn, somebody that I personally have gotten to know over the last couple of years and has been for many people an ambassador to these many artists. And you talk about somebody who is the number one fan of the Minneapolis music scene, and Amita immediately comes to mind.
Mhm.
She has gotten to know members of the MPG and helped out for their various events by helping sell merchandise. When we went to see Margie and perform with Dr. Mambo's combo um, this year, um, she was helping Margie on and off the stage because I think she's at the point where there's some sense of confusion where to be and what have you. But when she was on, this is the power of music.
Mhm.
The music helps when you're performing music or learning music. It helps so many regions of the brain, and there's so many scientific studies regarding this, that once you start singing, she was on. But when it came to doing other things, she needed a little assistance on that, respectfully. But what a sweet lady we got
And
to meet. I got to
I mean,
hug her. You and I both. We
right.
got to hug. And, dude, I
After
thank you
she
for
performed,
bringing that up, by the way. Thank you for bringing that up.
after she performed those versions of "I Want to Be Your Lover" by Prince and "Affection" and "Everybody Dance," which were big hits for
The
her and
Tamara and the
Tamara
Scene
in the
stuff.
scene,
Yeah.
and then spending the time that she spent with us off stage,
Yeah.
meeting us, hugging us, talking to us very briefly. It's those types of genuine
Yeah.
moments that I don't think that we would have had we not been on the journey that we're on.
No,
So I don't think it's lost on either one of us how
no.
special those moments are.
I got to give a shout out to Kirsten for taking the photos with us, too. They were
Yes, photos,
beautifully
right, right.
photographed. And she got one for her, I think, with her as well. Um, that was
And
just
and
very
and
touching and
then
very meaningful.
at that show, if you recall, that's where we met Glenn Barrios Schroeder. We met Suzanne
Oh, yeah.
Joy together.
Yep.
That's I think that was
Glenn,
the second
Suzanne.
time. That's what we'll see you in
I'll
June.
never forget Suzanne's name because that's my mother's name. So
Right, right.
same
You know,
spelling, too.
we saw Chrissy outside the
Help.
venue,
Yeah.
who we had just seen in Fort Wayne. And again, it's those associations, they bear so much fruit,
Oh,
and it's just, we have
yeah.
chats that are going on now where people are um talking about seeing us when we come in June. We've also started a mini campaign to get my beautiful and beloved Robin out to Minnesota with us when we go. So, if anyone's listening out there, let's make sure we keep that train rolling and get that campaign going. Robin, you got to be there. Everybody's looking for you.
Aaron's not coming. I can tell you that right now. That's not his thing.
Aaron's not coming. He'll be there in spirit, though, I'm sure.
He, well, it might be a sense of relief to get me out of the house for a week. If I'm being honest, but no, but seriously, you're right. Yeah, he will very much. So. Listen, it's a blessing to have spouses that allow us to be who we are and to be Prince widows for
Right.
a week
Well, and
or
it's really
more.
not it's really not lost because this has been going on. I
Yeah.
was into the Prince orbit and the Prince world since before Robin and I met, and I mean this in all sincerity. I am grateful for her patience. I'm
Ugh,
grateful for her understanding. I mean, Robin has seen Prince with me a number of times in the 35 years we've been together. She's been to see me.
35 years. Hold on,
Yeah, that's not lost on me.
dude.
35 years.
Woo.
She more than a dozen times seeing Morris Day and the Time together. I had a 10-day-old and I went to three Prince shows on the musicology tour, and Robin was
Man,
like, go do your thing. So the respect and the appreciation and the understanding I think that we get from our spouses also helps us do what we do. And you and I
yeah.
have taken it to another level with the podcast, obviously, but without the support of our spouses, this wouldn't be possible, and it bears saying.
Let me add to that. Jay goes to Celebration, and not usually every year it falls during his anniversary with his said wife.
Right.
June 4th, correct?
June 4th, right?
Look at I remember Jay's anniversary. Do I remember mine? Oh, yeah, I do. I mean, I better listen. I know where my bread is buttered, folks. Let me tell you that one.
Well,
But
and I think I always say that, Robin is also my ride or die, particularly because she gives me a ride to the airport so I can go to Minnesota. So
that's a literal ride or die.
literal, right? So again, I mean, you and I have a number of individuals that we need to be grateful for, and that we are, and I think what we've tried to do is capture that gratitude and
Yeah,
appreciation with this episode.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So what can we say, folks? But I mean, in general, thank you isn't enough. We give our eternal gratitude for our family, our extended family. I don't want to say friends, our extended family,
Mhm.
our immediate and extended families. We want to thank those all the guests that we've had first season and now second season, and now we're going to finish out the second season here. Before you know it, third season's coming up, man. And
Right.
the odds of having a podcast, and we're having a slow and steady growth on this thing, and we understand that. And Jay, we've expressed, all of three of us have expressed some sense of frustration that, you know, you're not going to go to 10 million subscribers or what have you immediately, but um, we're eternally grateful for the slow and steady success that we've had, because we understand that in this world of everybody now, so many people have podcasts, including the people who are in the entertainment world, the movie world, the whatever, the media, news, politics, what have you. Everybody seems to have a podcast now because it's a trendy thing to do. It's an easy thing to, well, easy. It's an accessible thing to do. Not necessarily easy, but the ease of access that we have in doing this together. You're in Connecticut and I'm in Pennsylvania. I mean,
Hucky's in
you know,
Minnesota. So
and Hucky's right. So what we're most grateful for is that you've stuck around for us, and that you're looking forward to the next what phase of this podcast, and we hope to continue it. I would love to be able to at some point in my life down the road to do this full time, but that's I'll probably end up having to retire from my world in the wine and spirits industry to do that, but that's fine. Jay, you've had many iterations in your career, the different jobs and companies that you've worked for. I use the word Bigelow. That has a special meaning to the two of us. You've worked for Bigelow. You've worked for many different companies, and I've worked many. I mean, I've been an opera singer, a music teacher. I'm now a wine and spirits specialist. I mean, we've worn many hats in our lives, but you in addition to that, your husband, your father, probably the most important job of them all as a parent, right?
absolutely,
And you got to
absolutely.
thank your kids too, because I know they
Yes,
support you.
they do,
Listen,
special shout out also, yeah, to the kids, because they do look at my content. They love the episodes that we did with Jelly Bean. They repost and they like, and comment on our content, which we need. We need the support, but also, yes, as a parent, I'm especially grateful to my children, Morgan, Maggie, Sunny, and Juliana. Who support their dear old dad, and being absent sometimes, to do this, and sometimes I'm sure they're grateful for my absence.
listen. Oh, let me tell you, there have been so many times like, hey Jay, you got a minute to talk? Hey, wait a minute, I'm with Mo. Let me tell you something about this guy to my other side here. Jay is such a family man. When we were in celebration and we'd be at the hotel room that we were staying at out in Eden Prairie, um, you were talking to any one of your kids on a regular basis, checking in with them, seeing how everybody's doing. But the conversation that I got to, not eavesdrop because we were there in the room and and chilling out and hanging out. The relationship that he has with his children says all you need to know about who J. David Silva, the Electric Man, is, and that's you can't put a price on the quality of family man that you are to your children, Jay. I gotta say, man, I
I do
just like
appreciate
well shit,
I'll,
hey,
I'll Robin and I always say we'll never do anything better than our children, ever. You know.
Well, yeah, but you know what though? You're only as good as the company you keep in turn.
Mhm. Right,
And they've
right.
got you guys as the guiding as your as their north stars for that. So,
And and
and
and sometimes they don't always get it, but slowly but surely.
well, we'll look at this decades from now when we're long gone and they're still here. They'll be like, "Wow, those two old fools knew what they were
Right.
talking
They
about
they knew what they were
most
talking
of the
about,
time."
right?
Most of the time.
So
Speaking
you
for
know what?
myself, James. So, in closing, um, thank
It's
you.
been thank you. It's been a hell of a
And
year, you know?
yeah, you said it. You said it. It really has. But gosh, there's so much. This is. I'm really glad we did this episode because you've been working. You went to see the Giants game last night with your kids, Morgan and Sonny.
Yep.
Right, I got that right. Okay,
You
look at
did.
that.
Yep.
Holy cow! I remembered which kids went to the game, and you spent time with them. Again, another example of how exemplary a father you are to your children. But and making those memories, even though your team, my team, not doing so great. I'm a Ravens fan. He's a Giants fan, and of course, Hockey's a Vikings fan. The Vikes.
And I'm grateful because Hucky didn't razz me after the game. So
He actually sent us very
shout out to
nice text
Hucky.
about sorry about both your teams not
Yep, yep,
making it.
yep.
So that was very magnanimous of Hockey to do that.
Magnanimous, that's the word. Right, right. So,
Very,
well,
very,
and
very.
and and I think I don't want. I'm privileged to say that we have a list of guests coming up in 2026.
Oh
Many of which whose patience we are very grateful for, because quite frankly, we didn't get to everybody this year.
no, we didn't. And
People that
and
have
and
asked
and
us if they
there's
could come on
folks.
the show, people that we asked if they could come on the show, and we appreciate their patience with scheduling.
Yep,
We will get to everybody,
yep.
but we're grateful for the consideration, first of all,
Yeah,
and second of
well,
all,
I
we're
mean,
grateful for the
I,
patience.
I would love to just say to if people right now Hucky and I just talked about a particular guest who is part of the new power generation, and
Mhm.
it's a big deal, folks. It's a big deal to get him on the show with Law.
Mhm.
Okay, is that enough of a hint? I don't know if that's
Right,
a hint for anybody else but you and I and Huck, but
but we've got
um,
some stuff coming.
Law is to say that Law is a diehard disciple of the purple Minneapolis sound is an understatement.
Right.
Okay, this guy is not just walking the walk, it's not just talking the talk. He's walking the walk. He is collaborating with some of these associates and folks and getting them to come back into the folds and into the in putting manifesting actual creations of songs and what have you. So I
and
can't
and
wait for some of our guests to come out.
doing this in between his corporate gigs, his solo shows at the
Yeah.
cutting room, and the bottom line, and quite
Oh,
frankly, his show coming up on April
I
17th,
knew you were going to mention it.
2026
Yep,
at the cutting room,
I
which
got my
is
ticket.
tribute to Prince. We're going to be seeing, Rob and I will be seeing you there because we have our tickets as well. And we're going to be promoting that show as we get closer.
There's somebody else that lives in New York City that we need to invite to that. I think you know who I'm thinking of.
I was certainly speaking with her via text last
Oh,
night.
not just her, but the other guy.
The other guy, yes.
Yeah. But boy, wouldn't that be quite the setup?
Yes, it would. But
Yeah.
let's manifest that.
Oh, we listen.
So
We've manifested it so far. Why stop now?
why stop now? Right.
Right.
So, again, in addition to the thanks, I want to say, folks, if you like what you see and hear, or if you like what you've seen and heard this past year, and you are looking forward to more great and engaging content, please like, follow, and subscribe to the Electric Vibe podcast. Every bit of support that you give us is greatly appreciated, and it really, really does make a difference in us being able to provide this type of content to you. Kurt, I want to say thank you to you and thank you to Hucky for everything that we've been through and everything that is to come. It's, like I said, been a heck of a 2025. It hasn't always been easy, right? But
Mm-mm.
we've persevered. We've done what we had to do. And we're making plans, quite frankly, for our dynamic 2026.
We're going to get our kicks in 26. That's for sure. And I will tell you, the Vibe 25 campaign. Little did we know how much that was going to be.
Right.
Not an ordeal. You know what you're going with that. But yeah, to echo what Jay said, thank you all so much. Our friends, our family, our loved ones, our extended universe. We can't thank you enough, and we look forward to having more new guests on. And let's forget to mention that we're going to do some episodes this year that don't feature special guests because we always if Hucky's on an episode, he's already a special guest in a way
Right.
because he's the guy who worked with Prince and worked in that universe. We all bring something to the table, but let's not get it twisted. Hucky's got a few stories in there that are worth hearing, man. Let me if some of the stories we could put on the air wouldn't
And
get us
some we can't.
arrested. I mean, what a privilege it is to have Hucky on board our team. And thanks, Hucky, for making this second year in front of the camera and behind the scenes a special season.
Right.
They talk about the sophomore slump. I wouldn't say it was a sophomore slump more than it was a sophomore challenge.
Challenge. Right. Right.
And with our new work schedules and what have you, this is going to be a tremendous year. I'm looking forward to 26. We all know it's coming up on the 10th anniversary of Prince's passing on April 21st next year. I know there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be happening, and I'm sure we're going to have some guests on that are going to be a part of that celebration.
Right.
Of course, we're going to reflect on his passing, but we do want to celebrate Prince because that's what he would have wanted. The biggest Prince fan was Prince. Let's
Right.
not let's not let's not forget that.
That's right. Don't get it twisted.
He liked what he was doing a
Right.
lot. And that's what made Prince Prince. You could tell the joy that he had in his creation and his music making and the life that he led. Not all the time, but he was human like the rest of us. But he
And
had some superhuman skills.
we're going to help keep that alive.
Absolutely, no question. So, folks, once again, Jay, we're coming up to our signature sign offs here, folks. Thank you again. Again, as I always like to say before we end each episode, and on behalf of Hucky, we live in turbulent and challenging times. Let's try to be kind to one another. As I always like to say, a rising tide lifts all boats. Jay.
Kurt, thank you. And once again, thank you all for a tremendous 2025. We're looking forward to great things in 2026. And like I always like to say in closing, when the universe comes knocking, you have to answer that door. Good night. Peace.
Peace.